how are psychedelics shifting the culture of professional sports, and why are more athletes exploring this?
Well, it's shifted from beyond the biohacking every advantage possible to mitigating damage that's been done. I think there's two things that are happening in sport. The first one is, of course, everybody looks for every legal advantage that you can get. And psilocybin at the microdosing level does not appear in any USADA drug testing. Psilocybin doesn't show up in urine. It can only be found in hair follicle testing, and only family court does hair follicle testing. And no one, to my knowledge, AI searches, and I'm 7 years into this business, no one's ever been busted for a psychedelic microdose. So,
and if you're a bald athlete, you have even less chance.
Yes, that's true.
Okay, I'm safe.
That's true. They need to go in and do hair follicle extraction.
Right.
So there is the strategic advantage, but I think part of the recent trend is coming from reversing traumatic brain injury, CTE, and mitigating neural inflammation that happens with sport, particularly collision and combat sports. So you've got the twofold. You've got the consistency of every athlete looking for every advantage they could get, legal or illegal. In this case, we're kind of it's somewhere it toes the line, but most sports don't even test for psilocybin. It's not even in their bylaws, so it would fall under the legal realm of performance enhancement. And the other is to mitigate neurological damage.
Okay, so what are some types of psychedelics that are being used by athletes? How do they use these substances? How do they claim that they're pushing them to new boundaries?
Well, there's two things that are going on. So there's the micro experience, which is a company like What Brain Supreme, what we specialize in. So just for your listeners out there, I'd like to believe that we're the preeminent psilocybin based microdosing supplement in the marketplace. We created a proprietary strain of mushroom that's specific for our microdosing needs, and then we combine 100 milligrams of psilocybin in three different formulations. We have Genius. This is our most nootropic formulation. We take 100 milligrams of psilocybin and we blend that with herbs, nootropics, and amino acids for neurocognition, brain performance. Then we have Feel Good. It's that same 100 milligrams that we blend with adaptogenic herbs for mood, libido, heart opening, emotional support. Then we have our athlete formula, which we'll probably talk most about here. That's 100 milligrams of psilocybin that we blend with natural T boosters, testosterone boosters, and cardiovascular support, some recovery elements in there as well. And then we have Black Stack, which is our extra strength, and that's 300 milligrams of our secret active ingredient, then juiced up with nano-curcumin, ginger, and vitamin C. So at the microdosing level, it's mainly psilocybin at the microdosing level. And so what psilocybin does is, psilocybin is a very powerful neural anti-inflammatory. So it reduces inflammation in the brain, it reduces inflammation overall in the body. And because of that neural reduction in neural inflammation, ocular inflammation around the eye, inflammation in the inner ear, that your reaction times get quicker. This has been statistically, clinically proven to be true. They did a TAP test with geriatrics, and they gave a group of octogenarians a 200 milligram microdose of psilocybin, and then they tap tested them. They gave them the microdose. 40 minutes later, they re-tap tested them, and they had about a 17% improvement in 40 minutes in tap tests.
Is that like tap on something?
Yeah, like they have to tap.
They
have to tap finger tests and finger coordination, which is kind of straight from the brain. Different finger combinations, and so there seems to be a significant when you're dealing with athletes at the highest level. So I was a Big Ten college linebacker, okay, and you get to a certain point in athletics where 0.51% is all the difference in the world. Like how much, if you think about a 3-point shot, if you're off by an eighth of an inch, the shot's very often going to miss. In soccer, if you're off by a quarter inch, it's going off the post as opposed to bouncing in off the post. Mixed martial arts, you're on the chin or you miss the chin. So when you think about sports in terms of 1% and 0.5%, if you're taking a supplement that's increasing your eye-hand coordination, by 1% or 2%, 3%, you're that much better. Okay. If you can have a little more reduction of overall body inflammation and then inflammation around the eye and the ear, you're hearing quicker, you're seeing quicker. If you take what we call performance dosing, which we'll get into in a moment, if you're at the performance dosing, there's something where it can even put you into a sense of flow state where you're predictive, your connection, your mind-body connection kind of clarifies, and you can almost be predictive in the way you're working with the ball, working with your teammates, or working against your opponent, where you can get this kind of flow state happening. So at the microdosing level, it's mostly psilocybin, and it seems to help with recovery, flow state, eye-hand coordination, and just overall presence. Like you're a little more present. One of the feedback that we get with our products overall is people just feel that they're more present in their lives, in their sport, at the gym, extra reps, or with their family, with their kids. It helps with being present. At the macro dosing level, there's a host of psychedelics that are used. And this is kind of like the Aaron Rodgers documentary recently that was on Netflix, I think, where I think episode 3, it was only 3 episodes, but episode 3, he and a bunch of players go down, they do an ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica. At the macro dosing level, it's ayahuasca, it's MDMA, it's psilocybin, it's ketamine, and this just helps process the amount of trauma that athletes experience, physical trauma, stress. It's very competitive at the highest levels. The friendships and the teammates in the locker room camaraderie is extraordinary, but the level of a high level competition, most human beings don't experience quite that level. Like when you're competing in the workplace, like it might be neck and neck, but when you're competing in the NFL, when you're competing at the MMA, you're competing at the alpha level of, the
best of the best,
the 0.2% of the world that's an athlete at that level.
Right.
And that causes, and then you have the impacts, the collision, the stress from the family, the consistent traveling, the electromagnetic frequencies, and all the kind of molecular damage that goes with not only stress, but those kind of the amount of travel and so forth in those environments. Right. So it just provides a whole reset. So at the microdosing level, you got psilocybin mostly. At the macrodosing level, there's a lot of athletes who are doing resets with psilocybin, with MDMA, with ketamine therapy, with ayahuasca retreats. So kind of the whole pantheon of plant medicines are open to them at that level.